Siona God, hello all, Oshta afternoon, good afternoon, and Wado, thank you for watching. So this is day 16, Transformation of America, the true life story of a CIA mind control slave by Kathy O'Brien with Mark Phillips. And we are in Kathy O'Brien's section, and it's unthinkable. We're going to finish her first chapter in here, and then we're going to go through the, what do you call those, footnotes, and then start her second chapter. My Uncle Bob helped my father decorate my bedroom in red, white, and blue paneling and American flags. He provided assistance in scrambling my mind according to Project Monarch methodologies. Fairy tale themes were used to confuse fantasy with reality, particularly Disney stories and The Wizard of Oz, which provided the base for future programming. I had personalities for pornography, a personality for bestiality, a personality for incest, a personality for withstanding the horrendous psychological abuse of my mother, a personality for prostitution, and the rest of quote-unquote me functioned somewhat quote-unquote normally at school. My normal personality provided a cover for the abuse I was enduring, but best of all, it had hope. Hope that there was somewhere in the world where people did not hurt each other. This same personality also attended catechism, a weekly class at our Catholic church, St. Francis de Sales in Muskegon, Michigan. My catechism teacher was a nun or sister. Although I could not consciously think to protect myself from abuse, I had decided that becoming a nun would provide me with the kind of life I sought. I could not rely upon my family, the police, or politicians to protect me. The church appeared to be my answer, and I listened diligently in class and prayed religiously. I learned all about the political structure of the church and was prepared for my first confession. The Catholic beliefs I was taught include the idea that man, is not fit to talk to God the Father directly, but must have a priest intercede instead. This is the purpose of going to confession. I was instructed to tell my sins to the priest, also referred to as Father, who would relay the message to God. He would then supposedly tell me how many Hail Marys and Our Father prayers to say as my penance or punishment. My catechism teacher gave the class several examples of sins, which included sex outside of marriage. When the priest, Father James Thalen, slid open the little screen partition in the closet-sized confessional, I began as I had been instructed. Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. I then proceeded to tell him that I had sex with my father and brother, to which he responded that I should say 3 Hail Marys and 1 Our Father, and I would be forgiven. That was crazy. I knew that, God dang, I knew that I had to either believe that this confession was a hoax or that God condoned sexual child abuse. That night, my father had a talk with me. Apparently, he was the father that the priest had interceded to. My father instructed me that from now on, I was to simply say I disobeyed my parents when I went to confession and nothing more. The next time I went to confession, I did exactly as I was told. The veiled screen came off the confessional partition between me and the priest, and a penis was stuck through the window. Jesus. God said that your penance is to treat me as you would your father. And remember, whatsoever you do to the least of your brothers, that you do unto me. After performing oral sex on Father Thalen, I emerged from the confessional where all the kids were waiting very impatiently for their turn. My teacher scolded me for taking so long and told me to add a few extra Our Fathers to my penance. When I told her I already did my penance, she told me again the order of things to the confessional ritual, which did not fit anything I had just experienced. Without ever consciously knowing why I abandoned the idea of becoming a nun, as that part of me too split off from what was left of my normal base personality. I continued to maintain an illusion of normalcy for school, excelling in my studies due to my photographic memory, and in spite of my chronic daydreaming, I had plenty of friends and played enthusiastically at recess. Good God. Expending large amounts of energy and my subconscious effort to escape my own mind, and I lost myself in the books my father suggested I read. The Wizard of Oz, Alice in Wonderland, Island of the Blue Dolphins, Disney classics, and Cinderella, all of which were used in conditioning my mind for what soon would become mind control programming. My television viewing was restricted and monitored in keeping with my father's gained knowledge. I was, however, permitted to watch the best of movies, The Wizard of Oz, Disney classics, Alice in Wonderland, and Cinderella over and over and over again. When I was in second grade, my Brownie troop marched in the Memorial Day Parade, in which the Michigan State Senator Vanderjagt also participated. At the end of the parade, he took me into a nearby motel and had me perform oral sex on him before sending me back to where my Brownie troop was waiting. My Brownie leader and peers thought it commendable that Vanderjagt took me with him. They gathered around to hear all about it. I noticed a white splash of semen on my sash and hurriedly explained that he had taken me for a milkshake. I wiped it away. Having to cover for his perversion to my Brownie troop infringed on my school personality, and the normal remainder became even smaller. With the memory of this incident compartmentalized in my mind. Look, I'm having a hard time reading this. I'm just going to tell you. Whew. If y'all know my background, severe PTSD and stuff from things that I encountered while in the military. Nothing that anybody should ever encounter. But anyway, and this is just rough reading it. I mean, it should be rough for anybody, but god dang, it's like making me not even think straight. I feel like, God, this is taking way longer than it should. Hang on, let me find this. Okay. I made no conscious association to Vanderjagt when my third grade teacher announced that we were taking a field trip to the state capitol in Lansing, Michigan, where he was in session. Once at the capitol, I was ushered away from my classmates and taken to Vanderjagt's office, where he was waiting along with his friend and mentor, soon-to-be President Gerald Ford. Vanderjagt lifted my skirt, pulled down my panties, and placed me on his desk for sex with him and Ford. Afterward, they laughed as Vanderjagt placed a small American flag in my rectum and instructed me to wave it. He then presented me with a Kennedy pin inscribed with the motto that would lead me for the rest of my mind control existence. Ask not what you can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. Vanderjagt then escorted me back to the balcony of the legislature where my classmates were gathered. He put his arm around me in front of all my classmates and presented me with the American flag he had just had me wave for him and Ford with my rectum. My school personality split off again, but I still maintained the hope that somewhere, someday, I would find a place where people didn't what? I could not remember what I was seeking to escape. So here are the footnotes. So it says multiple personality disorder, MPD, now known among mental health professionals as dissociative identity disorder. DID is the mind's sane defense to an insane situation. It is a way of dealing with trauma that is literally too horrible to comprehend. Incestuous rape violates primitive instinct and surpasses pain tolerance. Good God. I'm trying to get through it. By compartmentalizing the memory of such horrendous abuse, the rest of the mind can function normally as though nothing had happened. The compartmentalization is created by the brain actually shutting down neuron pathways to a specific part of the brain. These neuron pathways are triggered open again when the abuse reoccurs. It says recurs, not reoccurs. The same part of the brain that is already conditioned to the trauma deals with it again and again as needed. The second one is Uncle Ted had also cried hysterically the night of the murder. Several years later, he almost killed himself when he drove his car into the White River near the place of the murder. Number 3 is Gerald Ford, aka Leslie Lynch King Jr., served on the Appropriations Subcommittee for the CIA and was appointed to the Warren Commission to investigate the assassination of President John F. Kennedy, while I knew him only as a porn boss. Number 4, my mother often voiced complaints that she could not see faces, which personal experiences taught me indicated that she was suffering from ongoing physical and psychological traumas and therefore was not in control of her senses. Number 5, had my teachers been educated in the obvious signs of child abuse, my illusion of normalcy would have been interpreted as a cry for help. Dissociative trance daydreaming, tones of helplessness, and sexuality in drawings, and the electric prod marks on my face should have been recognized. Number 6, these same themes were routinely used in creating Project Monarch slaves. This fact emerged through years of networking with mental health professionals. And I'm going to leave it at that for today, and we'll start chapter 2 tomorrow. Love you, mean it.